What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice. When this D-bag saw him. D-bag. Why bothering looking at that when you know you'll never be able to get one? My friend. The same reason you watch porn. The entire bus erupted and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. A dude in my class called out a semi-friend of mine. That people are talking behind his back. In fact, that wasn't the case, as far as I know. And that guy said, well, you know what they say about you? Nothing. Nobody fucking cares. It's gotta be the aliens locker room scene for me. Hudson, hey Vasquez. Have you ever been mistaken for a man? Vasquez. No. Have you? Edit. Brain derped with the film title. Overheard by me. The school bus driver. One 5th grade student was belittling a 1st grader. When it was time for a comeback. 1st grader shouts out, congratulations. The bewildered 5th grader had nothing to say and went to sit down with her friends in the back of the bus. Context. John Oliver from HBO interviews Stephen Hawking. May he rest in peace. Joe, and there may be a universe where I am more intelligent than you. Shish. There may even be a universe where you are funny. Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa. Joe, I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ. I guess your wooden leg makes you a table. Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a badass and intimidate my buddy. He says, my feet are registered. Without missing a beat, my friend replies, where? Health and sanitation. 40 years later I still crack up at this when it comes to mind. So there was 2 girls fighting and one of them looks at my sister who was minding her own busyness and says, you go to hell too. My sister. Do you want me to say anything to your mom? David Letterman. I'm not as dumb as I look. Tina Fey. How could you be? I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Edit. I was 9. I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor. And one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my ass. And the old lady replied, where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom. The friend also rubs his head and says, wow, you're right. English class in middle school. Kid A. Yo. Kid B. Your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like shit having a mom that works at McDonald's. Kid B. At least my mom gets out of bed to go to work. English teacher far louder than he realized. Damn, the rest of us were laughing so hard. The teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. If you weren't so stupid, what would you be? Asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat. Single. Someone yelled out in a Walmart. I'm not ashamed of who I am. Another voice echoed back. That's your parents' job. Definitely a great comeback. But not to an insult. More to an annoyance. I was a camp counselor for a few years at a summer camp. One day my group took a hike to a large rock where we had lunch. My campers were between 8 and 10 years old. This one kid we'll call Jeff keeps poking another kid we'll call Matt in my group to look at this hole in the rock. It's so cool. It's like 6 inches deep. And the other kid is clearly getting annoyed just trying to eat his lunch. He keeps shoving sticks into the hole and trying to get everybody to look at it. Finally Matt just puts down his sandwich, looks at Jeff, and goes, I'll be 6 inches deep in your mom later if you don't shut up. I was trying so hard to be stern with this kid for saying something so inappropriate, but I kept cracking up. It was just such a disproportionately ridiculous thing to say coming from a 9-year-old. 18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, Sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox. Wilkes shot back with, that depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress. On a construction site one afternoon, different trades were working in the same area, like silly team sports. The Sparkies always hang with the Sparkies and the Turd Wranglers always hang with the Turd Wranglers, and anytime they're together it turns into a pointless dick measuring contest. Usually not literally. One particularly childish exchange saw 2 men chopping back and forth, my dick biggest. Blah blah blah. Finally one of them spits out this classic, I've got girth like a can of corn. And the clap back was unforgettable. But you've got length like a can of tuna. Everyone busted up. Mr. Girth tried to hide his embarrassment, but was tied up. No comeback. And a room of men laughing uncontrollably. Good times. My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the fuck out of the way. They were going at it and his final words were, "Suck my dick, bitch," she said across the store. If I could find it. Bitch. Edit. Not Walmart. Even better Aldi. There's a story about Margot Asquith, a British socialite and author, meeting Jean Harlow and correcting Harlow's mispronunciation of her first name. No, the T is silent, as in Harlow. What are you looking at? I'm still trying to find out. Chelsea Handler told Russell Brand, "The way you are looking at me makes me wants to cover my vagina." He replied, "Ma'am, if I had a rubber glove, I'd do it for you." Crowd burst into laughter and she even acknowledged, "That was good." During WW1, Switzerland had a tiny standing army. But they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home." I expected a better insult from someone of your upbringing and education. I was the one insulted. But not the one with the comeback. I was out with a coworker and her friends, and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that. Smells like pussy." A guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry. That must be me. I just ate. It was amazing." Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Edo Brandis as his every attempt to stump Brandis failed. This is what happened next. McGrath, "Why are you so fat?" Brandis, "Because every time I fuck your wife, she gives me a biscuit." Quiet guy in my art class got called queer bait. He replied with, "If I'm the bait, then you're the catch of the day." Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory. And Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word, "If." I've been called worse things by better people. On an Indian roast show, there were two bald twin brothers and the roaster told them, "You two confuse me on a biological level. You two look like testicles, but you are both assholes." Single quote. I am still waiting for an opportunity to use that. Me. We should learn from our mistakes, my friend. So that's why you have a younger sister? A friend of mine was getting bitched at by these two identical twin girls in a class one had once. He replied with a troubling look on his face and said, "If you two are identical, how come only one of you are hot?" That dude played the long game as those two girls looked rather perplexed for the rest of the session. Asterisk fixed. You sure do talk a lot for never saying anything. Easy. Now, don't let your brains go to your head. One of my coworkers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go fuck his hand, and he responded with, "I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment then." The guy laughed his ass off and ended up coming in for the appointment. My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was fierier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him and glowered, "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot?" I was bullshitting with a couple of buddies, and may have suggested that I banged one of their moms. To which said friend replied, "My mom's dead." My mouth bypassed my brain and replied, "That explains the dirt." The classic, "You're adopted. At least my parents chose to have me." Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex it was terrible. The first time I had sex," and a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down, you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember." And the crowd just lost their shit. It was amazing. This happened about 5 years ago now. There was this one annoying kid in my math class in high school. Being loud. Ignoring the teacher. He was mixed race, only bringing this up because it's related. He's talking rather loudly with a guy next to him. Teacher tells him, "Shut the hell up." Kid makes a point that he's half black and being mean to him is racist. Some stupid shit like that. Teacher looks him dead in the eyes and says, "I was talking to your white half." Stupid. Hands asterisk down my favorite teacher. Dude bragging. "I got a big dick, friend." What happened? Someone break one off in your ass? I have a bunch, but one of the more memorable ones was back in 8th grade. For context, I didn't make the basketball team 7th grade. But I made the team in 8th grade. This kid that was on the team the previous year but didn't make it currently was really upset and telling me how bad I am and blah blah blah. I told him that if he is better than me then why didn't he make the team, and he replied with, "It's just cause of my grades, bro." So I replied with, "Oh, so you're just fucking stupid then?" He gave up cause it was either accept that he was bad or accept he was an idiot, so